Science is discovering that there's a lot it can learn about humanity and a lot it can learn about the human experience through video games and how we play through video games. Game theory has taken, game theory began before games. But
like the math studies or the...
Yeah, the math studies. Yeah. But it's leapt forward. Video games have provided so many advancements in mathematics, in sociology, in public health. Our understanding of epidemiology as it relates to thought, mimetic epidemiology, is leaping forward. I mean, this is a science that it's in its infancy, and it really would not have been able to develop had it not been for video games, granted, and a larger internet. Now, that segues nicely into another thing that video games have really helped us to understand, and that is the world outside of us, namely alien worlds.
Nice.
So I am here representing on behalf of the Museum of Science Fiction, who runs an event called Escape Velocity. What? Okay, cool. Thank you for keeping the crowd entertained. I appreciate it. And they run an event called Escape Velocity where they are trying to help bridge the gap between science fiction fandom and science fandom, and trying to illustrate the ways science fiction has guided science reality and the way science reality has inspired science fiction in a dichotomous and very synergistic method. So, I am here to talk about how video games have helped the social consciousness explore exoplanets, alien worlds, and how the validity or creativity that has been displayed by video games and how that relates to what we know of real worlds beyond Earth. Right? By the way, my name is Robert V. Aldrich. I'm a novelist. I'm here promoting my newest book, Proton and Rakaiju. I also write online and write for a variety of different websites as well. Outside of that, I'm a cancer researcher for the North Carolina Central Cancer Registry. And yeah, so let's get on it. Everybody on board? Fantastic. Okay, it's also important to note that normally I take 15 to 20 minutes to review my slides and compare them to my notes to make sure everything's synced up. And as you saw me come barreling in, thanks to Virginia traffic. So this is going to be exciting. So bear with me. Science fiction pretty much lives and breathes by the alien worlds. Going back almost to the birth of sci-fi itself, we asked ourselves, what is it like to live on another world? What would it be like to be up amongst the stars? Robots are cool, lasers are awesome. At the end of the day, however, science fiction looks to the alien worlds, the places beyond our planet. And you see the way science fiction is conveyed in media affects the way the worlds are depicted. In Edgar Rice Burroughs' books, John Carter on Mars and the gazillion sequels, even some of the Tarzan books, alien worlds are almost ubiquitously identical to Earth except for blah. Even in situations where the alien world supposedly has a defining characteristic different from ours, John Carter being the example, where he is on Mars and gravity is lower, and so he is phenomenally strong and capable of tremendous feats of strength, blah, 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 blah. But the rest of the world actually doesn't. It's just a modem for which he can have superpowers. But everything else about the world is still normal. Films began to transform our conception of this. Special effects allowed us to depict increasingly more and more alien worlds. Television went the other direction and said, hey, it looks weird, that'll be fine. Even comic books have further pushed the boundaries because with limiting themselves simply with what can be depicted with pencil and pen, it is truly amazing the worlds that they are able to create. However, video games have done something truly phenomenal, which is not only give us alien worlds, but give us alien worlds that we can interact with, and not interact with by proxy from a character's perspective. In books, we can read what a character is thinking, saying, doing. In movies and television shows, we can watch. In comics, we can get, in theory, kind of both. But in video games, we can actively experience this alien world. That is wild stuff. That is stuff that has never been done before in science fiction. That is exciting. And it's one of the great features of video games, and it's one of the great benefits it provides to science fiction. Everybody on board? Fantastic. All right. So, it is hard to put an exact figure on how many video games can be considered science fiction. Partially, this is due to series that blur the lines, or series that mistake futuristic fantasy for sci-fi. How many of you have heard that Star Wars is fantasy in space, not really science fiction? That's debatable, but we do have to distinguish between a fantasy story that has science fiction-y trappings and a story that is true blue science fiction. And the debate of what constitutes what is a discussion for another panel. Because video games are often action-oriented rather than narrative-oriented, their emphasis on video game worlds provides us with a more tangible and more active experience. From the earliest generation of games to modern AAA titles, we see alien worlds are pretty much the hallmark of the game. Who you are, your little character, is often not the selling point compared to the world it will be interacting with. Games' ability to depict and even generate alien worlds has become the cornerstone of many of these, the games, saying, look at what you can interact with, look at what you can see, look at what you can experience. All of that is the highly philosophical way of saying, look what you can blow up. There we go. The problem is that what happens when we actually get to alien worlds? What happens when we start getting alien data sent back to us? This is not California. This is not Ayers Rock in Australia. This is Mars. I'm going to say that again just because it's really cool and it really bears repeating. This is Mars. This is an alien planet. This is somewhere not on Earth. Our senses have become so dulled because of the magnificence, the wonder of science fiction television, science fiction movies, books, video games, everything. But to actually realize this is an image from another world, that's really, really cool. And it's really, really amazing. And when you are able to put this into perspective, that we are here, we have this image, we have what we see before us, in part thanks to science fiction, in film, in books, in movies, in magazines, in comic books, and video games, it really helps put all of this into a wonderful perspective. But again, how do we know what alien worlds are like? These are some real alien worlds. I didn't realize until too late that we've got a Yo Mama joke there, which I'm delighted with to no end. Despite some common misconceptions, aka flat earthers, we know what life can be like on alien worlds. Not just worlds inside of our solar systems either. This is really kind of cool. We can, with increasing accuracy, predict what will it be like on worlds outside of our solar system. Through the use of studying light, radio waves, all sorts of fun stuff. We can look at a little dot up in the sky and say, that's mostly water. Cool, cool stuff. So yeah, talked about that's really Mars. We've sent probes to more than just Mars. We've sent probes to Venus. I don't think we've sent anything to Mercury. If we have, it didn't survive. We've sent stuff to Jupiter and Saturn. Amazing stuff. These are, I mean, it almost sounds passé now. You know, when you talk about Star Trek and Star Wars and the places that they go and the things that they do to say, we sent something outside of our solar system, but we sent something in our solar system. We've been to alien planet. A robot has been to an alien planet, unless it depends on how you want to classify the moon. You know. There was a joke there, but I think it's too early in the morning. Say again? What? No? Hi! So, as time progresses, video games have been able to incorporate increasingly more accurate data on what alien worlds can actually be like. That depends, however, on what kind of world they want to depict. So, graphics and gameplay have long dictated what kind of world is going to be depicted. Most game developers are not terribly concerned about the accuracy of the game. They're not terribly concerned about how close or how far they are from, say, Venus or Mars or Jupiter. They are going for a narrative and a gameplay construct first, and if they can sprinkle in the science, that's cool, but it is not a priority for most games. We're going to talk about those in a little bit, with the exceptions a little bit. During the platformer era, which is start before the 8-bit and into debatably the CD-ROM era, they don't make that many platformers anymore, do they? I mean, there's plenty on Steam and whatnot, and you can always find something weird on iTunes, but is our platformer still a thing? The most recent game system I own is a GameCube, so I see the giggles. What? They do make platformers still? Okay, cool, fantastic. The indie, I understand about the indie showcase and stuff. I understand that things on Steam. I'm talking about like on actual platform, yeah, AAA platforms. Like, is there a platformer on the Xbox? Banjo and Kazooie? Lethal Alien? Man, when aliens actually come to this planet, we're going to have a lot of explaining to do. It's not going to be pretty. Anyway, back to the video games. Starting with the platformer era, most games are going to offer you, I'm going to go with what I like to call the Mega Man color scheme, which is they're going to have worlds, environment, stages, whatever you want to call it, based around a single element. You have the ice stage, you have the fire stage, you have the technology stage, the stone rock stage. These are less an homage to the Platonic elements, the 5 here, although I'm not sure ether was ever mentioned by Plato. I think that was just kind of shoehorned in later to match with traditional Chinese medicine, but I detour. This is more about gameplay. The ice worlds always offer less traction. The water and air worlds usually have giant gaps that you can fall through and collapse, even though it doesn't make any sense why a robot would fall into the water and die immediately. Mega Man. I'm not bitter. I made that jump. The game cheated. If you play too well, it ups the difficulty. That's known, right? So yeah. As games have evolved, however, we can get into 3 specific types of games and the way they depict video game. Are you on the phone right now? While I'm talking? That hurts, man. The first game that we're going to talk about is Earth Adjacent. And this is your kind of standard Star Trek world. Earth-like gravity, Earth-like atmosphere, often even Earth-like culture. In most cases, if there is a culture, if there are humanoid animal creatures, aliens, etc., they have a very human-like culture, with one exception. One thing is blown out of proportion. This is from the Orville episode. This is the Facebook one. I don't remember what they titled it. Majority Rule. There we go. Where everybody here watches Orville, right? Guys, come on. God, come on. You got classic Star Trek in all but name. Get on that. I mean, I appreciate it's got a humor differential, but still. They've gone back to very classic sci-fi where they don't even bother trying to justify how could a society have possibly reached this point. It's like, shut up, it's run by Facebook. We're going to move on with it. And they allow for really great exploration. In this episode, an entire society is identical to ours, except everything is judged plus or minus. Everything gets liked or disliked. And a lot of likes is good, a lot of dislikes is bad, and antics ensue. But otherwise, exactly like our society. This is our Earth-adjacent sort of worlds. Ratchet and Clank is another great example. This takes place on dozens of planets, even outer space, even on little asteroids and space stations and whatnot. But they are all, in essence, variations of Earth. Earth-level gravity, Earth-level atmosphere, Earth-level flora and fauna, except for the giant monsters that try to eat you. To demonstrate a little bit harder, a little bit more realistic sci-fi, we need to move to the first lady of video games. Metroid, especially the planet Zebes. What is the Zebes? Zebes, there we go, excellent, fantastic. It's like her last name. There's 9 different pronunciations and they're all up for debate. This is Norfair this is an artistic rendering. We have a complicated cave system with alien life that is very distinct to what we find on Earth. And yet there is a certain level of familiarity to it. We have an idea about insects, we have an idea about bats and whatnot. Now, let's not pretend that this is created to be an alien world simulator. Okay, this is a video game, this is the foundation of Metroidvania style gameplay, but yet there is an attention to detail that helps to create an idea that this is an alien world. This is a world that could conceivably exist out there. You have a figure in a spacesuit until you beat the game in under 2 hours. You have aliens, the multitude of aliens that you interact with in this game are not enemies. They are simply quasi-hostile life forms. They are simply wild animals on this alien planet. This seems mundane now. This seems trivial. But it is important to acknowledge that here we have conceivably a fairly accurate depiction of what we might be looking at when we encounter alien life. When we are on an alien world, what will it be? It will be very, very different. It will not be Earth adjacent. It will be something a little bit farther. Another example is Zardian. How many of you have played this game? Good, because it's crap. It's such a bad game. Beautiful art, a really great premise, man, it tried. It tried so hard, and it could have been such a good game. If ever there was a game that was rife to be remade, it is this. Sadly, since it sold 9 copies and I have 3 of them, you know, it's like the only people who have a copy of this game are me and like 3 other people and the developer's mother. That's it. Nobody else. Do I have a screenshot of the game? Yeah, we're getting there. Don't worry. Trust me. You're going to bask in the gloriousness of this game in a moment. You have 3 worlds that are at war, and a 4th world inexplicably attacks them, all 3 of them simultaneously. They have to set aside their warring ways and join forces to try to figure out why this 4th world attacked them. You have a technological world, a water world, and a plant world because sci-fi video game. One of the neat things, however, kind of like Metroid, is you're going to have this emphasis on the ecology. Most of the monsters that you interact, most of the enemies that you see in the game are indigenous life from the planet that has been warped by this 4th planet that is invading. You're dealing with animals, you're dealing with robots and servitors that have been changed by corrupting influences. You get to see indigenous life, you get to see fish and monsters and whatnot on these very, very different environments. And there's an effort, it is a good effort. I cannot call it a successful effort, but it is a good effort to try to help create very different environments in the game so that you feel like these are actually very distinct worlds. The end result is a little bit, yeah. Lastly, I want to talk about, we're going to go in the other direction, which is rock and roll racing. Everybody play this game? Nobody's played this game? Oh, you have played the game. Okay, I can see like 3 people and 9 shadows, that's it. All right, I'm not going to be able to see for like an hour after this panel, so please forgive me. These lights are back here going, I'm pretty sure there are 4 lights, not 5, but that was an obscure reference. I'm glad nobody got that. Likewise, you're going to see multiple tracks in this game are going to be played on different worlds, and like you would expect, you're going to have the ice planet, you're going to have the fire planet, you're going to have the thematically appropriate planets. But because this is on a 16-bit console, this is on the Super Nintendo, they're really able to create a better feel. You experience the planets being different. You experience different gravities. You experience different traction as you play through this game, probably more so than you would see with Mega Man. Again, Earth adjacent. Again, video game with a little bit of science sprinkled in as an afterthought, but this is still worth acknowledging, worth noting, and worth lauding. Now, we're going to go in one direction, and that is with the sarcastic world. We talked about Earth adjacent, Earth worlds that are planets that are essentially Earth with 1 factor change. Now we're going to go to sarcastic worlds. These are usually funny, but not always. They're going to play for comedic effect, but the idea is that they are an Earth world that is exaggerated. A lot about it has been changed and dialed up to 11. I love this. So, In gaming, one of the best examples of this is going to be Gradius, the rail shooter. Everybody's played Gradius, right? Okay, good. If you haven't, there's an arcade downstairs. You need to go fix that. Get right with the Lord. Taking place in ostensibly the Metalion solar system. Again, 19 different ways to pronounce that. All of them are wrong. Around the Radis star, the series follows the Vic Viper as it fends off attacks from Bacterion. Classic sci-fi if ever there was any. The Bacterion cell can duplicate into an endless armada that has supposedly swallowed whole galaxies. The game takes place... Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Don't sass me. Whee! I know, right? There are the MOA faces that are required on every Gradius game. Again, very simple, very easy game, but the depictions of the alien worlds start to get very, very drastic and very, very exaggerated. They get blown out of proportion, and they hammer home the idea that you are on an increasingly different environment, an increasingly different world, totally divorced from Earth itself. Now I can't move it. Assassin. Come on, move, please. There we go. How do we do this? Nobody likes you. Don't sass me. There we go. I forgot what it was. Sorry. In the other direction, we also get to seeing Earth depicted from an alien perspective, or seen from an alien perspective. What would our world look like? And this helps hammer home the idea that our world is shaped by our senses and our sensibilities. Here's Space Harrier. This is Raymond. This is all supposed to take place on Earth, but it's Earth from the perspective of an alien. Probably the best example of this is going to be Sonic the Hedgehog, Toe Jam and Earl. Who said, oh God? Get out. This is a masterpiece. The Toe Jam and Earl is about two aliens from the planet Funkatron, all hail Funkatron, who crash land on Earth, and they have to repair their ship so that they can get home. They interact with humanity as they go along. Now, Toe Jam and Earl is a really remarkable game for many, many reasons. But for the purposes of this panel, what I want to talk about is the fact that they try to depict what Earth looks like from the perspective of an alien, and how much of our society doesn't make any damn sense. Everybody on board? Fantastic. This is, that's Earl. That's Toe Jam? Yeah, that's right, because you got 3 feet. Hot tubs, lemonade stands. They're the council of, I'm not going to say it because I'm at MAGFest and I know I'll get in trouble. All right. Everybody on board? Fantastic, okay. So, we've had sarcastic worlds, we've had Earth-adjacent worlds, but to show something that is truly bizarre, this is when we start getting into the realm of more recent video games and more recent science fiction. These are truly alien worlds. These are games that are going to take into account matters like physical matters like gravity, as well as biological matters like ecosystems. Typically, more and more modern games are embracing this, and it's allowing them to provide a wider variety of subject matter within the gaming experience. One of the earliest examples of this, a game that is clearly designed to incorporate as alien a world as we can possibly depict, is Evo Search for Eden on the Super Nintendo. If you have not heard of this game, nobody blames you. Again, 9 people played it, but it's a very interesting game. Technically, it does take place on Earth, but on Earth of prehistory. And it depicts a world totally divorced from our own, as is deliberate. You start playing a fish, and the idea is that you go through the stages of evolution on Earth, passing from fish to it gets weird, as a video game. But you have to decide how you are going to interact with the world around you. A bigger body is not necessarily a better body. An armored body is not necessarily a better body. And the world defines what you will experience. EVE Online. Anybody who plays this? Anybody? I'm going to guess more people's hands should go up, and some people just don't want to admit it in public. This is a resource management game that involves space exploration. Now, is it true, because I don't play this game because I'm afraid of it because I have an addictive personality, is it true that they pay you, like, you do better if you don't play it? Like, is that really a thing? Uh-huh. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. I've heard some amazing things about it from a narrative standpoint, but looking into the actual gameplay, I was really, really blown away by the fact that they have begun using, this is called Project Discovery. They have begun incorporating real astrological data, astrometrical data? We'll go with astrological, it sounds more fun. Astrological data and incorporating into the game to allow the players to surreptitiously evaluate real-world data to help identify exoplanets, to help essentially look at the night sky and say, I think that's an alien world. When that data gets sent on to real astronomers, they're able to parse out whole swaths of information so they can come back to just what is truly outstanding, because the data is so intense and so thick, algorithms cannot parse through it accurately enough. Human players can. And so we're getting a genuine merger of video games and real-world science in a science fiction setting. Exciting stuff. We are going to see more of this. This is going to become a standard of science fiction video games. Now, No Man's Sky, because you knew it was going to come up. The game with a billion, trillion, gazillion, quadrillion planets. Simultaneously a giant prank and an unforgiving mirror to the industry's fans, the game was either a huge success or a huge failure with little interpretation in between. Yeah, see, uh-huh. Yeah, hear the laughing. Yes, the game has literally astronomical numbers of planets online. It's meant to be a game about exploration and survival, and the game promises that it might be the most accurate depiction of alien worlds yet. We don't know because we haven't gotten a person on top of an alien world, again, unless you count the Earth. That's kind of like, you know, dating before you can drive. Does it really count? Apparently I hit a nerve with some people. Damn, sorry. I didn't mean to get that uncomfortable. So yeah, all right. Understanding alien planets is at the moment about understanding gravity, light, heat, moisture levels, atmospheric conditions. In the good old days, it can be seen as a parallel to classic gaming. The fire world being heat, the air world being light, water being moisture levels. As science progresses, who knows what we may discover. I'm personally excited to see Kix possibly come to the forefront as what an alien world might be like. Please tell me somebody else in this room has played Kix. Come on. Really? Nobody? You draw the little lines and make the bugs. Like, have you really, or are you just trying to save me? Okay, good. All right, fantastic. What? Dude! My dog! I owe you a beer. Wait, whoa, hang on. Have you played Zardian? Okay, thank God. For a second there, and then I thought we were going to start knocking on the door of alternate worlds, and, you know, he was my doppelganger and was, like, here to kill me before I don't know. Something, yeah, you know. They've got the Hadron Collider running now, which clearly has created an alternate universe. Boy, I wish that was a joke. So yeah, until then, until we can start traveling to other alien worlds and check our own homework as we see in science fiction and fantasy, sci-fi pulp stories will have to suffice. Now, this has been a train wreck of a panel, but I want to thank the Museum of Science Fiction who helped me to present it. I'm here on their behalf to help promote Escape Velocity and their efforts to bridge the gap between science fiction and science fact, and to help show the way that science fiction guides scientific reality and the way science can help inspire science fiction. They have a table downstairs. I strongly encourage you to check it out. They have wonderful STEM representatives at their convention every year, which I think the next one is in March, April, something like that. Anyway, go downstairs and check out their table. In the meantime, I am Robert Aldrich. I have a table downstairs as well. I'm promoting my new book, Proton. I have a website, teachthesky.com. We have a few minutes left. Can I answer any questions if I can see your hands? Yes, hand. What about it? I love the concept, but especially when we're talking about alien life, that's different than alien worlds, because we can look at an alien world, we can look at the light data and the radiographic data coming off of a planet. We can say there's this much iron on the planet is this large, it's going to have this kind of gravity, it's this close to a star. There's so many things we can learn about a planet itself. But when we start knocking on the door of the life, with the exception of maybe tardigrades, the little water bear things, the microscopic little badasses that can survive anywhere, everywhere, all the time, forever, we don't really have a conception of what alien life is going to be like, even when we start talking about like microbes. So that is, I'm going to call that fantasy for now. Once we meet aliens, whether they're tiny little microbes or Rama finally shows up to wipe us off the planet, whichever one happens, I am still waiting on angels, okay? Third impact is coming, I know. But until that happens, that's more about public health, that's more about an exploration of life on Earth than alien worlds. Once we have a precedent for alien life, we can figure out where we are in it. So yeah, any other questions, any other thoughts? Yes? Help me understand what you mean by alien life, like our concept of it, or? Oh God, yeah, no, that's totally human psychology. No, most depictions of aliens in fiction, I'm gonna go like 90%, 95%, 99%, they are human light. They are the Earth adjacent sort of worlds where they are humans with this change. They have a bony forehead, they speak backwards, something like that. When you start getting into kind of the Ender's Game sort of scenario where you've got really alien life, even then it is more an animal we know on Earth that has now been dialed up. There is a conference, it used to meet I think every 3 years, where it was a government conference where experts from a variety of fields would try to create alien life conceptually, just to figure out how we, humanity, would interact with it. And the results that they came up with was really damn bizarre. Like, they had like floating gas clouds. Our concept of alien life is going to be more akin to probably H.P. Lovecraft or something than anything else. It's going to be really, really weird. Again, until we meet the Vulcans, and then who knows. So I don't put any stock in popular depictions of aliens. They're fun, they're great, they're warming us up for when we interact with them, but right now they're really more mirrors to ourselves than anything else. Yes, ma'am? Gotcha. I think that's great stuff. Somewhere in between the two of these comments, though, is where you're going to find that. There is an effort to apply real science, and that's cool, that's good, but until we have a precedent to have any idea of where we're looking at. A good example of what I'm talking about is there was an episode of Star Trek Enterprise, don't judge me, where the human crew interacted with aliens that did not have iron in their blood. And in the Star Trek universe, of course, they looked almost exactly human, except their ears were weird or something, whatever it normally was. But in reality, that's what I think we're going to be looking at. We're not going to have a bipedal creature that has thicker skin or has a cranial forehead. They're going to look totally different. Until I'm proven wrong otherwise. But I think that kind of stuff is an exercise in remedial science, which is good. I'm not describing it. That's great stuff. We need more of that. That's wonderful. But until we meet an alien, we have no perspective on how accurate or inaccurate it might be, unlike the exoplanets where we have some precedent to work off of. It was, yes? You, That sounds like something humans would do. I have higher hopes for alien life. I mean, you're getting into really advanced theory at that point. We would need, again, we would not only need to meet alien life, we would need to have a concept of just basic math. You cannot predict anything until you have at least 2 points of data. Right now, we have 1 point of data, life on Earth. Debatably, we have aquatic life, which is a little bit different from terrestrial life, but we have life on Earth. We cannot even begin to predict what alien life is going to be like until we have at least one alien in the perspective. Any other questions? Yes, yes. The Fermi paradox, who wouldn't avoid us? Like, do you know the restaurant Hardee's? Have you seen the Baconator? I'm gonna repeat, who wouldn't avoid us? I don't know. I personally, I don't like to subscribe to really crazy theories, but we've got that asteroid that's floating around here that's like completely astrologically unique that we've never seen before. I got my money riding on that. What? No, it's like the long dagger-shaped one, which I'm sure is for our back. That one, yeah, exactly. Like that's what I think the aliens are like watching us going, we'll try again in 50 years or something. So the Fermi paradox is akin to saying, I haven't been able to find a light switch, ergo there's no light in this room. I mean, it's sound, it's valid. I don't have a response to it appropriately, except just give it a minute, guys. We've been extraterrestrial. We've been off this planet for less than 100 years. It's going to take a second. Like, people who talk about the Fermi paradox are the people who can't wait a minute after the microwave's dinged. Like, you know it's burning hot, but you got to dive in immediately. Like, just hold on a second, guys. But anyway, any other questions or comments that I can rudely distribute? Yes. So that was actually part of the panel that I glossed over really fast because it gets really complicated. How do you define an alien world? We talk about exoplanets, meaning other planets, but what if you talk about a planet on another timeline, in another dimension, phase shift, like that can start knocking on the door of an alien world. Well, hell, the ocean can classify as an alien world. So where do you draw that line? Alien, don't go away. I need you. Aliens, in that sense, I have no concept of. Again, going back to, until we have a point of reference on what alien life can be like, we couldn't even begin to guess. I would put that as likely as something as ghosts or other things from a narrative standpoint. That it's like psychic. Psychic is magic, is another word for magic. Transdimensional aliens is just another word for ghosts. We love, in science fiction, we love new names. Giant robot versus mecha, that's a big damn deal. I will fight somebody all day to say an Autobot is a robot. No, of course it's not a robot, it's an Autobot. Don't sass me. But at the end of the day, it is just this, it is an alternative word for another thing that allows an exploration of these fun ideas. But until we have alien life that we can concretely say, this is not from our world, and we have a concept of it, we can't begin to speculate on that stuff except as an artistic exercise. Yes? Yes, and they were a lot more encouraged before 2017. Until we can salvage our own environment, we really don't need to be messing around with others. Now, I'm not a policymaker, and we're very fortunate for that. But, I mean, conceptually, it sounds like it's moralistically reprehensible and functionally necessary. So I couldn't say. Yes. Thank God there was a person in the back. I honestly couldn't tell if I was. Yeah. Do I have any other panels? Yes. I am hosting a panel with David Ottavino, who's a voice actor based out of New York City. on bad voice acting. We're going to kind of explore some performances by some very good voice actors who turned in some very bad performances to try to dissect why voice acting can be bad in some circumstances, but there's more to it than just the quality of the actor. 6:30, I think? Yeah, I think 6:30. It is tonight. Thank you. Oh, that's tonight? Oh, I thought that was voice acting. Oh, that's tomorrow. Okay. So I also am doing video game movies. Why movies like Super Mario Brothers, Mortal Kombat, and Doom deserve a little bit more respect than they receive. You will have to come to the panel and find out. I'm here promoting the Museum of Science Fiction right now. Additionally, I have the top 10 episodes of Transformers. Yeah, that's what everybody says. That's the big one. And but mostly I'm also here promoting my novels, Proton. I have Rakaiju is available, but there are not copies here. I know. And I'm also promoting my website, teachthesky.com. My lovely assistant in the back has informed me I have 5 minutes left with that wonderful cue card of his. Thank you so much, good sir. I want to thank you guys for tolerating this bumbling presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it inspired you to look at cheap sci-fi better, high quality sci-fi better, but most importantly, science better. Please go downstairs and check out the Museum of Sci-Fi's table in the, I think they're in the dealer's room. Feel free to come by my table as well, and enjoy MAGFest. Have a good day.